Vinyl community, Michael Jackson fans, random people on the internet, my name is Giggins. Today is an album review for Michael Jackson's 1979 R&B, disco influenced, funk influenced, soul influenced, off the wall influenced album, Off the Wall. Check this out. Boom. See, this is why vinyl is awesome. This is why vinyl is worth it, okay? This was Michael's first, breakout solo album. He had a few other solo albums before. I think this was his fifth. Yes, it was his fifth. It was produced by Quincy Jones, and the reason why I'm reviewing this album today is because we live in 2015. When we look back on pop music history, and specifically with Michael Jackson, when you look back you think of Thriller and Bad and everything that came out after it. You don't really think about Off the Wall. That's, maybe for my generation anyway. If I had lived through that era, I probably would have thought Off the Wall to be just as important or just as significant as Thriller, and I certainly think it is. But Thriller overshadowed it for sure, and I mean, rightly so. It's the best-selling album of all time. So a little bit of backstory on this album. Michael was working on a movie production of The Wiz, based off the stage version. And in that, while doing that movie, he met Quincy Jones. And Quincy and him got talking and realized that they could probably work really well together, and Quincy offered to produce an album for him, for Michael. Now at this point in the Jacksons' career, they had signed over to Atlantic Records after the Jackson 5 dissolved their contract with Motown in 1975. All the Jacksons minus Jermaine went to Atlantic. Jermaine stayed with Motown because he was married to Hazel Gordy, Berry Gordy's daughter. And he felt out of allegiance to a family, also for marrying his daughter, he should stay with Motown. And he stayed, and he did have a solo career. The rest of the Jacksons, now with Randy in tow, went to Atlantic and put out a few albums, and they were kind of like lukewarm. They didn't sell as insanely well as what the Jackson 5 had done. You know, and they were growing as artists, for sure. They were writing their own material now and performing on the albums as well, and they hadn't done that during their time as the Jackson 5. Sorry, that groove. You just gotta hear it. But anyways, at this point in their career, they just released Destiny in 1978. That album blew people away. It had Shake Your Body Down to the Ground, Blame It on the Boogie. I mean, this song was loaded with dancey, funky rhythms, and proved that the Jacksons could write their own stuff and really do an awesome job at it. So on the heels of that, Michael was just itching to get out and do something on his own. And so he did Off the Wall. This album, over time, has gone 8 times platinum as of 2014. It came out on August 10th, 1979, which is amazing that he put this album out because he was on tour with the Jacksons for the Destiny tour after having also filmed for The Wiz. I mean, this guy was insanely busy at that time. But you can tell on this album how inspired he was to do something just do something Michael Jackson that wasn't related to his brothers. I mean, everything they did was always related to each other, but he wanted something he could put his own name on and say, hey, this is a statement of me, who I am right now in my life. This is a dancey album. And what makes this album fantastic is that it came out at the height of disco, but it's not dated. You know, you can throw this album on now and people will still move to it and not think it's cheesy. Disco is considered cheesy now, and it probably was back then too. But the fact that you put this on now, or any generation, and it's still just as fun as it was when it first came out, really speaks to the songwriting, the production, and the performances on it are very solid. I mean, you have amazing cuts on here, like the first two songs, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Rock With You. They were giant top 10 singles on the Billboard 200. Then you got Working Day and Night, another Michael written song. And it's interesting, this album really is produced quite well. The sequencing, the track list, really builds a momentum, carries you through the entire album. By the time you get to the second side, you're starting off with Off the Wall, which is just a crazy song, and there's a cappella version on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description box, probably. But to hear his harmonies, unbelievable. I mean, the guy can sing any octave. He can sing low, high, middle, doesn't matter. He can do it. And especially on Off the Wall, the background tracks, the backup vocals are insane. Some of the melodies he created, the harmonies, unbelievable. And what's amazing is a lot of the songs that eventually he would go on to write, on Thriller and Bad, he would have a melody in his head and he would hum it, or he would beatbox it or scat it, and that would get the message across. And it's just amazing to see how he worked to write his own songs. Just coming from a songwriter's perspective, because I write my own songs. I write them down on paper, or I play my guitar, or the piano, or bass, or something, and I can write it down and play an instrument. I don't think Michael played any instruments, so the fact that he can hear all this stuff in his head and know what the sounds were going to be, amazing talent, really, really talented. The favorite part of side 2 for me is, Off the Wall, bang and start, great. Then you go into Girlfriend, which is a Wings cover, probably the weakest song on the album, still good. And then you get She's Out of My Life, which was like a concert staple for him for a long time. Really powerful performance, and apparently he cried after every take. Because you hear him at the end, he cries a little bit, but like every take, apparently, he cried. I Can't Help It, it's a Stevie Wonder song. I'm okay in that one, lukewarm, but you get that She's Out of My Life, I Can't Help It, but then you get to It's Falling in Love, and that's my favorite song on the album. It kind of starts off slow and quiet, and then it just works its way up and up and up and up and up, and builds till you get to that fun, dancey ending, and it's just like, this song takes you on a ride, which blasts you right into Burn This Disco Out, and the album's over. So this album, for Michael, just exploded him as a solo artist. I mean, he had been a solo artist throughout the early 70s as a kid, but this kind of showed like a growth, just a maturity that was like unparalleled to the stuff he was doing before. And this album for him, it scored a decent amount of awards, but not Album of the Year. And I read a quote somewhere the other day that said that he wasn't going to let that happen ever again, and that I'll show him, I'll show him next time. And true to his word, he put out Thriller. He put out the best-selling album of all time. It's, unbelievable. I have nothing but awesome things to say about this album. It's fun, it's dancey, it's catchy, it's hooky, lots of groove, lots of rhythm, a lot of soul. It's got a couple ballads on here, but it's just really charismatic performances that translate very smoothly and very well, and they're timeless to me. This album came out about almost 10 years before I was born, and if I was alive when this album came out, this would have totally been my jam. I mean, it is now. But, this album for me takes me back to after he died, that summer when he died. And I remember just being in my car, going on summer drives, blasting the hell out of this thing. It's a really good summer album. Windows down, warm outside still at night. Driving at night with your friends. It's a great album to put on if you're by yourself, with your friends, at a party, have a couple of people over. Michael really outdid himself on this one. And it's amazing what he conquered, or it's amazing what he was able to do next. Thriller, Bad, Dangerous. The guy put out a pretty amazing output of music and stuff that we've never even heard before. It's amazing what's in the vaults that we don't know. So, Michael Jackson, Off the Wall. If I gave it a grade, which I always do, A. It's an A album for me. It'd probably be an A+ if Girlfriend wasn't on it, but I mean, it's okay. Not my favorite song in the world. Also, just this cover, man. I mean, look at this thing. Boom! So cool! This is why vinyl is the way to go, people. I would love to see this thing reissued someday. Epic, if you're watching this, come on, people, get on it, reissue it. My name is Giggins. This has been Album Reviews. Michael Jackson, Off the Wall. Shake it over.